Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy Munson.
Hello, I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness. You know, today, maybe you hear a little bit of sadness in my voice. There is joy too, because I see kids come in between, some as early as days old and others 4, 5, 6, and they're in foster care. They're being adopted, which is wonderful. And then the mom or dad that brings them in tells me that they've been born addicted to many different drugs all at once. And the child can't calm down. They don't sleep well. They have no appetite, or they have a voracious appetite. You get kind of both sides of the spectrum there, and they're looking for answers. And I remember being in school 25 years ago, and they actually told us back then that the brain, once you damage it, it does not heal. And within about 5 or 6 years after that, there's all these studies coming out that says, whoa. The brain is incredibly plastic, they call it. It's very adaptable and changeable and moldable and repairs all these things that it's willing to do. So even like Alzheimer's patients, working with them is kind of similar because they've done a lot of damage to their brain, and we'll talk about that maybe on another podcast. But it's similar to these drug-addicted babies because their brains have been just absolutely wrecked by the mom when she's on these drugs, that she's just pulling nutrients out of this little child. And because she doesn't have hardly enough for her, and her body's so busy trying to process the drugs she's doing, it's taking all these nutrients from everywhere, including the child. But now the child has to deal with a medication that's now flowing through the placenta to it too and causing damage. So we have all these factors going on, and now we have a child who's born very malnourished. It makes me think of Pottinger's cats. I've probably mentioned it on other podcasts, but it goes with at least repeating that Pottinger back, I want to say almost 100 years ago, he raises these cats. And these cats are healthy and they're vibrant and they have kittens. And he starts feeding them a processed diet. Everything is cooked. There's nothing raw, nothing natural. Everything is really damaged, if you will. And after feeding these cats a completely processed diet, by the third generation of cat, so the cat has kittens, they feed that cat only processed foods, and then that cat has kittens and they feed only that cat processed foods. By the time that third generation has had processed foods, it can no longer throw kittens. It can no longer give birth. It's literally sterile. The moment that he did that and found that the cat could not have kittens, and that it was barren, if you will, he changed the diet in that cat to a completely raw diet, like they would catch mice, birds, all that. Only raw food was the cat given. After a period of time, the cat became well enough to actually have kittens. And so the next group of kittens were also very sickly and fed a raw food diet. They were able to have kittens, and then the next generation, they were fed a raw diet, and they were still sickly, but the fourth generation cat was now normal. It was back to being healthy again. And so that third generation cat of processed foods their teeth were literally rotting out of their head. Does it sound familiar? We have somebody on meth, and it just wrecks their entire body. Their teeth are falling out of their head. They have nothing left because it strips so much nutrients out of the human body to process that drug. It's incredible. And so here we have an individual born that's addicted to drugs, meth, and other things, and now we're going to try to take this individual to a status of health and function, or at least functional. And it's a tall order, but it's not an impossible order by any stretch of the imagination. And so what we do is we start feeding the brain what the brain is looking for nutrient-wise. And there's specific B vitamins that are very calming to the brain and actually help rebuild brain tissue. But fats obviously become very important, as every nerve cell in our brain is surrounded by a fat covering that helps transmit that neural impulse so that we can think more quickly, we can reason more quickly, we can actually jump out of the way when a moving car is coming at us. It's all those things that these nerves do to our body that are important, and that fat is incredibly important, and thus cholesterol is incredibly important. And so those of you that have heard my cholesterol talk, I talk about all these reasons why cholesterol is so vital to the human body, and to think of it as a villainous player in the game of arteriosclerotic plaquing is very unfortunate, because it's really not true. It's a bad rap all the way around. But anyways, so as we begin to feed this child's brain minerals and nutrients and vitamins that are from food source, not from synthetic, now we get a fighting chance to see a brain start to relax and calm. I'll use some herbs that are very calming to the system as well, that are adaptogenic, and help this little system now begin to be able to calm down enough to actually learn, to engage, to communicate effectively, instead of flying into a rage and all these crazy things that happen with these unfortunate individuals born into this drug atmosphere. And then we do things that actually help the brain let itself know that it needs to replicate new healthy tissue and move into a more healthy scenario. And so all those things are possible. So those are out there that are wondering, is there a possibility for my child? Maybe you even have a parent or a grandparent that is struggling with dementia or Alzheimer's. Those are things that are going to be really important. What I love is when I see these little guys and gals that are really having trouble sitting still, focusing, all this. They don't have a taste for protein. Their guts are a mess. They eat a really strange diet because they're eating something that at least won't bother them as much as everything else. And so some of it's even definitely repairing the gut, which we work on at the same time as the brain. And we get to see all of a sudden that they have this taste for protein. And now they can actually build some muscle, and they can build some bone, because they're usually very of short stature. They can start building brain, which requires protein. All these things that need to happen in order to get a body to really start healing. And with the elderly folks, we'll see them have flabby flesh like on the back of their arms. And so that flesh is a protein deficiency. And that's also a digestive issue. As we grow older, we tend to not digest as well. And so now we need to strengthen digestion in them, so that all of a sudden that they crave the right foods, and they're not craving these quick foods, which is sugar-based or carb-based, and that creates problems within the brain and memory. And so that's why the memory and dementia starts going. And so there's things that we do for them too that we need to definitely get a handle on, so we can start slowing down that process of degenerative tissue in the brain and actually begin to reverse it and go the other way. I believe it can be done. I don't think there's a condition on the planet that can't remiss in some way, shape, or form and go the other way. And if we think that we can't, then I think we're already done for. I think having that hope and that belief is a huge portion in healing and all of that. And so some of that I've explored even on our brain cast, where we talk about how do we get beyond our thoughts and get into a mode of thinking that is more expansive and more possibility-based rather than closed, this is the way it's going to be and nothing's going to change it, defeatist type mentality. And so that becomes important too. So I hope some of you out there got some good information from this, and that this kind of piques some interest. If you have questions, concern, please, by all means, give me a call, text me, send me an email. I'd love to chat and talk about a possibility of how we begin that process in your child's life or your parent's life. And until next time, I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness.